Hi, everybody. I am here today with Dr. Renaya Furtick Wheelan, a native Philadelphian who is a motivator, coach, teacher, counselor, trainer, and organizational development consultant with expertise as a group psychologist. She has actively empowered and educated youth, women, and young adults for over 25 years, and is the co-founder and executive director of I'm Free, Females Re-Entering, Empowering Each Other, a nonprofit organization located in Philadelphia that provides trauma-informed, gender-responsive services to Philadelphia's females returning citizens. Dr. Renaya is also behind the first annual Healing Bodies of Color Summit happening September 29th to October 1st. I am deeply and profoundly grateful to have Dr. Renaya with me today to have a conversation about her work and what she's bringing into the community. So thank you so much for being here today, Dr.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
It is a pleasure. Before we got on, I had to tell her how excited and nervous I was about this. And we both get to be in that place today. Yeah. Dr. Renaya, I'd love to begin actually with this Healing Bodies of Color Trauma Summit, which I think is just such a powerful offering to communities, and learn a little bit about what this summit is about and who it's for.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind, I want to start at the beginning of how I got here. And I was supposed to go to a conference, online conference, and I got there and I looked at the presenters, and there were 16 presenters, but out of the 16 presenters, there was only one chocolate flavored person there. And that was really painful. Excuse me one second.
That's okay.
Very, very painful. Shut the door. So sorry.
All right.
This is where we live today, and this is a new way of being. And so yes, she will come in to check on me. That's my little one. So I wanted to go to this conference, and I get there, and again, there's only one chocolate flavored person there out of the 16 that was going to present. And I thought, my heart was broken because of where we are today, especially with all the political chaos and the spiritual chaos that's going on, and all of the pain that we had to endure with COVID and just all of this negative energy around that. And then having to watch a Black man murdered under the knee of a police officer, like that was just, it was overwhelming for me. And so I sat there and I was like, I can't do it. I cannot go to this conference where, with all of this stuff that's happening, you don't have the decency to make this a conference where it's diverse. And so I couldn't see myself there. And so instead of just getting angry and sitting on it, I decided, let's do something about it. You have some powerful people in your circle. And when we talk about psychological fortitude, there are folk in your circle who are there. And so let's call on them. And so I just started making phone calls and saying, can you please gift us? Can you please give us an hour or 75 minutes of your time just to pour into Black, brown, and Indigenous bodies, to let them know that we do matter, to let them know that we don't need to have that invisible cloak anymore. And at some point, we have to acknowledge that the cavalry isn't coming. We are the cavalry. And those allies who love us enough to see us, they will be there for us. They will pour into us. And so I said, I gotta do this conference. It's all virtual. Folk don't need to leave their homes. Let's just show up and love and pour into each other, hold each other up. And for those of us who are broken and fractured, let's help to mend us. And so that's where the conference came from, just out of this refusal to go to a conference where there was only one, and saying that this is what the microcosm, if you look at this conference, like for me, it was just like, this is who I am. This is about diversity. I mean, so just a little bit of background about myself. My mama, when I was adopted when I was 15, this little teeny, you got to be careful what you ask for too, right? So it's like, I need a mommy, please, God, send me a mommy. And this little short little white Irish woman knocks on the door, right? And there's my mommy. That's my mommy. She was an amazing woman. Unfortunately, I lost her to Alzheimer's. But, and I was raised in a same-sex loving relationship. So I have another mommy who is a little Jewish woman. And so it's like, so I know what it's like to be in a diverse environment and how important it is in order for us to learn and grow and teach and love. I can't be afraid to see you, Amy. I can't be afraid to see you in everything that you do, from your spirit woman to this body that you're living in. And yes, it looks different, and it may show up differently when you're walking down the street. When people see you, they see you in love maybe, and they see me in fear. And so we can't be afraid to talk about it anymore. And I need you, Amy, because you're going to help to lift us up because you see us. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, I'm just humbled by you. Your strength and your fortitude and what you bring, and the desire to see each other beyond color, but with recognition that some people have been treated differently because of how they look, and that's unfair. And that underneath all of it, we are so wildly connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love the way you just said that, beyond color versus the absent. Because people go, I don't see color. There's no way you don't see me. And when you say that, you're saying you don't see me. So I love the way you just put that, beyond that. We have to see beyond that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you brought up a really interesting point, because I know, I know that community. I don't see color. I'm like, yeah, but there's differences because of that. And if we deny the differences that exist, then we're denying aspects of an experience that matter and that impact trauma, that do create differences of capacity.
Yes.
And we have to see it to honor it.
Yes. And I love, you get it. I think that, and it is traumatic for me. So here's an example.
Please.
Yesterday I was driving, and a police officer came behind me. Now, I did nothing wrong. And he could have been going in the same direction that I was going. Mm-hmm. But I left, he made a left. I went straight, he went straight. I made a right, he made a right. So I don't know what was going on, but why do I have to sit with that energy? Like, I'm looking behind me, scared. And I know that I didn't do anything wrong. And so I started, at first I had to check myself and collect myself and go, why is this energy there? That's the trauma, sis. That's the trauma that I live with, because I live in this skin. I don't know if you have that experience when a police officer drives behind you, but that's the type of stuff we have to really begin to talk about, to be honest about. Mm-hmm. Because if you can't love me enough to go, I hear that, Renaya. I hear that. I see it. I want to know more about it. And I'm sorry about that feeling that you have to have just because a police officer is behind you.
Yeah.
I get terrified about that. So that trauma is real. And thank you for saying that.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing too is like, you know, we think of somebody that's maybe in like, they grew up in an abusive home, or they grew up in a system where they have to be like hyper vigilant all the time, and how much that decreases the capacity for resilience in other areas, how much that's going to make things more sensitive. And what I think you're defining, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is there's a whole culture that has that vigilance that has to exist almost all the time.
Yes.
And so then having that integration doesn't work unless there's an understanding of that even existing, because otherwise we're denying a whole aspect of experience.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And that's why, I thought, let's do this conference. So the conference is going to be for, yes, we say Black, Brown, and Indigenous people, but we want everyone to be a part of this process. We're talking about healing, and it's not going to happen overnight, and we know that. But to be able to drop some knowledge on folk, to be able to share some love and some positive energy in those 3 days, to maybe just plant a few seeds to say that you are worthy, you are more than just that. And if you're broken or fractured or impacted drastically by trauma, you don't have to stay there. Yes, you may have been, I don't know if you know about the ACEs study. And so, that's is looking at the amount of prevalence of trauma that has impacted your life. And so, yes, all of that may be there.
Yeah.
But we can come out from that place, that broken place, but we can't do it alone. And so I thought, let's make this summit about love. Let's make this summit about empowering people, lifting people up, allowing people to stand on our shoulders until they can stand on their own feet. Like, can we just do that for each other? And so that's how the conference came about. That's who I want. So everyone can show up and just share the love, and that's what I want this conference to be about.
Beautiful. So it's providing a platform for people to recognize their trauma, but then support themselves to move through it. And I would also add, I know in the white Caucasian community, there's, well, what do we do? What do we help? I mean, this is like, sit down and listen. Just come and listen and learn and see perspectives that maybe you don't see every day.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. And I think, as bad as COVID has been, I actually think that it's on some level a blessing. Mm-hmm. We had to sit still for a moment. We had to really sit in our own stuff for a long time. And people may not have, we've been screaming, listen, there's brutality out there for us all the time. And until we got to see it live and in person on TV, where a Black man was murdered under the knee, eyes opened that day, Amy. Lots of eyes open and spirits open. And so we were able to, in this pandemic, to be seen, to be heard for the first time in a long time. And so while it's a painful thing, in my mind, it was also a blessing.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. It brought the world to see you.
Yeah.
In a different way. So I'd love to ask a little bit. I know that you do the work with I'm Free, females reentering and empowering each other. And you work mostly with incarcerated women in Philadelphia, helping bring them back through the system. Would you talk a bit about this work? Because I feel like this work goes right into trauma and what women are dealing with in these communities.
Absolutely. So I had a few members of my family, female members of my family, end up in that system. And as a result, and some males, and as a result of that, I thought, I want to know more about the system. And so I just dove in and started learning. And my business partner was there, and I pitched it to a few people. And they were interested in knowing more about the system and how people are showing up in that system. And so we started going, and I created a curriculum, a 7-week curriculum where it was an empowerment CBT curriculum where we were saying, you know, it's important for us not to just go in and be warriors system, because people do it all the time. Not just go in and take from them. And so for years, and we've been in there for about 10 years. And I just said, I need to go in and empower my sisters. I need to go in and let them know that they are loved. I need to go in and love them. So this curriculum is about shifting the way they're being, acknowledging their traumas, letting them know that that thing happened to them, that they did not cause it for the most part, it was done to them. And so learning a different way of interacting with people who are impacted with trauma, learning how to relate to them in love, regardless of how broken they are, not judging them for that broken spirit, but let's try to help them to mend it. So we go in and we pour into them and we let them know that they are worthy of love. There are so many sisters, Amy, when I tell you, that are in that system. And when I say sisters, I mean every woman. I don't care the color of your skin. My sisters are there, all of the women that are there. Because when we first went in 12 years ago, most of the sisters that were in there looked like me. It's not that way anymore. They now look like you. And the reason they look like you is because of drugs. And so why are you imprisoning? Why are you keeping my sisters in captivity when they are needing medical care? Mm-hmm. They don't need to be in prison. They don't need to be in captivity. They need us to recognize that something happened. Can you imagine as a child being molested, as a child being raped, as a child being put out there, your mother, your father, whoever that you're in your housing with, your environment, everything says that you're not it, you're not worthy of anything, and then you grow up to be that thing. And then the system says, you're right, you're not it, you're not worthy, and they lock you away. Well, I'm broken. I don't need that. What I need is to heal, I need that. I don't need you to put me in a cage. But that's what we did. And so my only way of showing up, thinking about my siblings that were in that system, thinking about my cousins and whoever else, family members that were in the system, the only thing I could think of to do was to go in the system, but not by way of doing something that will get me to live there, to be there. I wanted to go in and pour in. So I always say I'm like the Harriet Tubman, you know, like I go in and I'm stealth, and I go in and I pour into them. I tell them how powerful they are, how brilliant they are. Yes, you're broken. Yes, you're fractured. But guess what? They have this crazy glue. You know what I mean? That will help you to mend. They'll put that thing back together, and you may still have cracks. And it's okay, because those cracks are going to tell you, hey, I was broken at one point, but now I'm whole. Look at me. You can still see the cracks, but I'm working on creating a greater me. So I go in and that's how crazy I mean, I stand on tables. I smack them in the chest. I touch them so they don't know what I'm touching. I'm healing. I'm touching. I'm doing all kinds of crazy. Amy, I get crazy when I get this, and then I come out and I'm all quiet about it. But when I'm in, because they tell you that you can't touch them. But can you imagine how many of those sisters are in there? One who's never been told how much they are worthy, or that I love you, or ever had a hug, or haven't had, like, so I broke all the rules when I went in there. And I told them at the door, when they come through the door, I go, listen, I'm going to hug you. I'm going to touch you. And when you leave this thing, you better not tell the COs.
I'm going to love you so hard.
Right. That's right. And so it was one of those things where I just felt the need to go love them out of there, love them out of that captivity. And so once they leave that space, we actually meet them at the gate if they need us to. We will meet them at the gate, and we have this thing that we call the dignity bag. Because I don't know if you know anyone that leaves that system. When they leave that system, they have a box or this mesh bag, that bright orange mesh bag that everyone and their grandmother, if you know anyone that's in that system and you see someone on the bus with a box that, and it probably has the place where you're coming from on the box, or the bag, the color of the bag, they know where you're coming from. So from the door, you get marked, you know, as soon as you leave, you're hit with the trauma as soon as you leave. And so we say, listen, this is what we're going to do for you, sis. We're going to drive up that day that you're leaving. We're going to give you what we are calling our dignity bag. We're going to have clothes in there for you to wear. We're going to have toiletries. We're going to have a token, like just something that you can get on the bus with. We're going to give you food for the week until you can get into the system again, if that's where you need to be. So we're going to do everything we need to do. We're going to do everything we need to do to make sure that your transition from captivity back is, my little one is here, sorry, back to, back into the system, back into society. So we're going to do everything we need to help you to do that. And then we take her wherever she need to be at a safe place. Mm-hmm. We make sure that she is safe. It doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen where she is actually going to be safe. All of the bridges, because of their addiction. And so what do we do then? You know, we try our best, and some we may lose because statistically, for those who go in and they have a substance use disorder, when they leave that system, if they haven't really done the work, then what's going to happen is they will go out and try to use. And when they do that, especially if they're using at the level that they were using prior to going in, they attempt to do that, it's not a good thing because they end up overdosing because they think, oh, I used to use 2 bags. I can use these 2 bags. And within 72 hours of their release from captivity, they're dead. And so we fight it every day. And my thing is, we're not going to get everybody, but we're sure going to try. And if I get one, I know that I got more than one because she's going to go back into her community. She's going to impact the lives of her children, her partner, her community. So we reached more than one. It may look like one, but we touched the lives of more than one. And so we try to do that. It's not easy. And as a result of most of the sisters who were going in was there because of substance abuse, I decided that I was going to go back to school after having the PhD to learn more about substance use disorder. And so I went and I got a certificate and so that I can understand what is this heroin thing that's, I can never say that word. Heroin, you know what I'm trying to say, right? That the, especially with the fentanyl and carfentanil that's in the drug and all of this stuff and how all of these people are overdosing, like what's happening? So I went and I got the certificate to understand it so that I can then come back into the system again and understand what these sisters are, what they were going through and I can really talk to them about it. And then I decided that I was going to do even more. I wanted to create a product that will help save the lives of people, in particular women, that are suffering from that disease. And so I literally created a device that I'm working on now, opened up another company. It's called GJN International. And what we're doing is we're just looking at substance abuse disorders and wanting to go in and help folk and wanting to change their lives and any kind of medical issues, because we know in terms of Black and brown, awful, but Black, since we're focused on Black, brown, and Indigenous people, when we talk about health disparities, it's real.
It is real.
And so social injustice and just when you do the mental health issue, like, so all of these disparities just start to get, larger and larger and larger. And so I'm just trying to impact lives.
Yeah.
Change lives, because someone did that for me.
Yeah.
Someone did that for me, Amy.
I'm glad they did.
I feel like I have to do it.
Yeah.
I have to pay it forward. How dare I be on the planet, been gifted the opportunity to be on this planet, have someone change my life, and I can't do that back for other people. I don't want to be that person anymore.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to iterate a couple of things that you said, because I think they're really important in that, we talk about somebody who's been in a family situation where there has been abuse and there has been trauma. So now you have a developmental trauma of somebody feeling like it's their fault, because when you're a little one, the only way that you can naturally associate is it's me, not them, because they need to be safe. I need them. Right? So now I'm messed up. Now I start to go into a system that keeps reiterating, oh, actually, it is you. It is you. And each layer is just another compounding factor where we weren't even starting on a strong foundation. So what you're really saying is that the entire thing from like the beginning into the systems is just this compounding traumatic factor of you are a failure, you are wrong, as opposed to there is light inside of you and we need to bring it out. And you're coming in and it sounds like you're trying to break the system. It's like, no, we're going to do something radical different. Instead of saying you're wrong, you're bad, you're unworthy, I'm going to say, I love you. You deserve love. This is not your fault. You are not, you might be broken, but you are strong.
Yes.
And I love what you said about, if I change one person, or not change, but if I can influence or support one person in a positive way, I'm not just influencing them. That runs down the line, that runs down the entire field, that runs into the community, and it actually inspires this change. And that's just an incredible way of looking at it to me. And I'm curious, what would you tell people, a lot, people that are going or have, maybe marginalized communities or something, they kind of, pretend aren't there, unfortunately, because that's really the easiest thing to do.
Sure.
How would you offer, what insight might you offer for people who want to be better, like want to see light, want to actually contribute, not as I'm going to keep putting them down, but I actually want to help lift them up? What might you offer for these people that want to help? How can they help in their daily lives, in their communities, in their worlds?
Are you asking how those who are fractured, what do I say to them, or people who want to go in and work with those who are fractured?
I would say when people are fractured or when there are challenges, how do we communicate? How can people just be better at listening? Because I do think this starts at home, right? This starts with the person that you see that's just a little bit weird and you could easily keep putting off and not see that it's a trauma thing.
Yes.
Whereas instead you can go, oh God, they need love. I'm going to love the crap out of them.
So, and I was going to say, that's where I was going. It's about, and so what do I say to them? Mostly I'm listening. And I'm pouring, I try to pour the love in, try to get them to see that canister, if you will, of trauma that you're holding on to because of all that stuff that happened to you. Yes, it's real, but guess what? We can pour out a little at a time. And the way I do that is just talking about the love, talking about how important they are, talking about no matter what happened to you, I'm not judging you. This is not about judgment. And the moment we begin to judge, that's not love. We've lost our way. And so for the most part, the way I interact with folk like that is just to, one, see them, like really see them, even when they're nodding out. I will say to them, I don't care if you just stuck the needle in your arm and you had that aha moment. Oh, I don't want to be here in this state. I want to be clean. I said, call me. Call me. Even when you're nodding out, even when you are so high that you can't think straight, if you can have a moment of clarity where you can dial my phone number, call me, because I want to love you. And I think, Amy, the reality of the thing is that's all we can do, because they have to attach to that.
Yeah.
And so for me, the love is not just you and I sharing the love, but the love that we share with the universe. And because we are attached to the universe, that universe then pours that energy back into us so that I can then have this conversation with you, so that we can then go out and do the work. And you know that the moment we get off this call, if someone enters your space that needs that love, I'm connected to you, sis. I'm connected. And so that love that I have, that you're sharing with me right now, and I'm sharing with you, and the universe has shared with us, and we're sharing with the universe to power up the universe so they can keep doing the work. That's all we can do for these sisters. Just let them know that we are here and that we are loved and that they are worthy of love. Because at the end of the day, they have to do the work.
Yeah.
We can pour in and pour in and pour in and pour in. If we can't get them to make that switch to the point where they're understanding that they're worthy of the love, we can do it till we're blue in the face and they can't see it.
Right.
Can't feel it. They can't believe it. And so that's what I do. I listen. I just tell them how important it is for them to understand that they're worthy of love and that change can come about. You really can change. And so, Amy, I just want to share this one piece with you, a part about my life and why I am here in the way I'm here. Because I was there. When I was younger, you know, I'm gonna expose myself for a second. My middle name was Smokey, right? Because I would smoke a tub full of weed. Like I would just, weed was my thing. You know, getting high was my thing. But it was my thing because I didn't know anything else, because of the community, because of the environment, because I was broken, because I was fractured. I wanted to hide. I wanted to cloak myself because I was already invisible to the world, right? So I had this invisible veil on from the door. So why not cloak myself? Why not be invisible to even myself? So I would get high, and I was so fractured and I was so broken. And so I'm not just talking to the sister saying, oh, like this theory out of the book. Yes, I'm a doctor, and no, I know that sometimes that book stuff, they haven't lived it. So it's not lived experience. I have lived experience. I'm going in and saying to them, if you allow me to love you, if you allow you to love yourself, there could be a shift. Love is so powerful, right? There could be a shift in the way you're showing up on the planet, but you have to want it. And so with that, like I know that thing. I shifted that energy. And I tell people in a minute, I'll turn my hat around, you know, when I'm talking to them. So I could wear this hat like this and be Dr. Renaya, or I could turn it around and put it on backwards and be Renee. And Renee, Renee is a little special. But I don't want to be her.
Yeah.
Work too hard. I love love. I love the energy. I love, this is how deep it is, right? I see you. Your music penetrated my soul. Your music healed in that moment, whatever little piece that needed to be, like, you touched me. Sis, I was like, I got to find her. Right? And I call you up. I do this whole thing. I text whatever, however I got to you. And I was so amazed that you responded. But then I had to sit with myself and go, that's the love that I'm talking about. Because if I showed up some other way, you wouldn't have responded. You wouldn't have. And because love met love that day, I was like, I don't want to be anywhere else, Amy. I don't. I love being here. Call me weird, call me whatever you want to call me. But I call myself love, and I'm sharing it.
I love this. Like, I'm in. I'm so in. I love everything you just said. I love. I also love.
I know.
But no, that we as sisters, as family, as brothers, as everybody, like, we gotta love each other through the shit. Like, we gotta be here, because then we feel each other backing each other up to love those who can't. And that, you know, I look back in my past and also I partied in a lot of drugs and got into some very bad situations where I look back and I'm like, holy shit. And I couldn't see that then. I couldn't see that I was basically on the edge of, like, bad shit could have happened at any minute, but I had to come through it. And what I love, what you're really hitting, and something that I struggle with when I study in, like, clinical ways, is that it really comes to, you've got to also love yourself and look at yourself and move through those things so that your love can be pure. So it's not, I'm loving you to give myself worthiness. It doesn't have anything to do about that. Like, it's about, I'm loving you because, God, you deserve love.
Yes.
And I've got it in me. And so it's coming through, and I've cleared the channel to let it out.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm going to keep clearing the channel and meeting my shit and going through.
Right. That's
so
right.
I can meet you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that we both did the work, because here we are today connecting. It was meant to be. Love met love that day. I'm just going to say that again. It was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. I close up here shortly, but I'd love to ask, like, how can people support the work that you're doing with Free, as well as support the Healing Bodies of Color Summit? I'd love to hear how community we can invest, we can tune in, we can be there with you and support you.
I think what you just said, in terms of just tuning in, understanding, sharing with us, growing with us. And of course, we could always use especially with I'm Free, you know, we could always use the donations, because we go into the jail, and everything that we spend, for the most part, it's out of our own pockets, or we get a little grant or something. So if there's a way to donate, that's fine. Who mostly understand that the majority of the women that are in that system, they're there because of a traumatic experience. And so if we begin to look at trauma and become trauma conscious, trauma aware, trauma informed, however you want to say that, we do that as a collective, then I think we can begin to heal on all levels. And the most important piece is that we are responsive, trauma responsive, because we can get all the information, but if we don't change, if we don't shift the way we're showing up. So helping us that way, learn more about trauma, learn more about women who are in that system. I think that's the most important piece. And as far as support with the conference, show up and learn. Just show up and learn. Be there, support us. Understand what we're attempting to do.
Yeah.
What's your love?
Beautiful. Thank you. And I just want to speak to the conference. And I said this to you before we started, of, you know, how diverse the people that you're bringing in. Like, you have clinicians, you have psychologists, you have artists, you have a brand manager, you have data scientists, you have, like, I was so impressed at just how, yes, we're talking about healing, and so often in these wellness things, it's all about the healing and the trauma, but you're saying, and now here's the pragmatic application in life, because it's great to do healing work, but it's also in the systems and in businesses. And I really love that you're bringing all of that together.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I, of course, am going to put all of your information into this so that people can meet you. The first annual Healing Bodies of Color Trauma Summit is happening on September 9th to October 1st. And so I hope that
September 28th, 29th.
Oh, 28th?
Wait, I'm sorry, 29th.
Yeah.
You said September 29th.
Yeah.
30th.
October 1st.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I was like, I hope so. That was just on the post.
No, yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Renaya, it is honestly, it's an honor to know you.
Thank you.
And to support and be in here. So thank you so much.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.